As you guys know, Azure is awesome. I don't have to manage my systems for the most part. I don't really have to worry about security. I think maybe I'll go to Hawaii. I'm back from Hawaii. I really didn't go to Hawaii, just in case you were wondering. Anyway, welcome to the show, guys. Today we're going to talk about Azure Security Center, and I have Yuri with us today, and Yuri is a repeat presenter, so that's always awesome. Hey, Yuri, what's going on, bud?
Hey, Legs. Thanks for having me again. It took almost 2 years to have me again, so I'm glad to be back.
Hey, man, look, you can come on the show anytime you want. The more Azure stuff that we have to present, the better we are.
Thank you. Yeah, so, Azure is great. As you said, Azure is awesome.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I have some customers that are slowly moving to Azure, and one of the big concerns that I think everybody has is kind of security related. That's always huge.
Sure.
My customers are government customers, and so there's all sorts of government security stuff that you have to meet, requirements that you have to FedRAMP, etc., ITAR, and so that's always a huge conversation. And the cool thing is that we have Azure environments that meet all of those.
And the good thing also is that if you remember, not very recently, last year, we have some major cyber attacks, WannaCry, all those ransomwares and all that stuff. And one of the things that it hit again, I mean, if you are long enough on this security business, you're going to remember the Conficker outbreak back in 2009, 2008, 2009, something like that. And it came back the same nightmare of not having the systems up to date, right? Because when WannaCry hit, it was taking advantage of a known vulnerability that was patched like 3 months ago. 3 months prior to the attack. And one of the things that Azure Security Center can do is actually build this snapshot to give you the secure posture of your, not only Azure, and that's something new that we announced at Ignite last year, is now you can also manage not only Azure VMs, but also on-premises resources and VMs that you have in a different cloud platform. For example, AWS. If you have a VM on AWS and you want to manage via Azure Security Center, you can do that.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty cool. That's not the word that I was going to say, by the way. I had to censor myself mid-sentence.
Yeah, that's awesome, because you can consolidate your entire secure posture visualization in one single dashboard. You can see your on-premise resource, your cloud, and if you have different resources in Amazon, like a VM in Amazon, you can see not only Windows and also Linux.
So you said you can also manage on-prem security stuff with it.
Yeah, you can. If you want to manage your not only VMs but computers. Bare metal computers on premise, you have to install the agent on those computers, and then you can manage via Azure Security Center.
Oh, that's really cool. That sounds neat.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, so for even for desktops, I can install an agent on the desktop and.
Theoretically, you could, but there is a list of supported operating systems. So Security Center is mostly for server.
Yeah.
Ideally for server, because when you go to desktop, we are coming up with the Windows Advanced Threat Protection, right?
Right.
So that's the main goal, and these two guys will at some point share information, and you can be able to see on the same dashboard that information.
Wow. Yeah, that's really cool. So I hear you have some demos for us.
Yes, many demos. I mean, last time we talked, we were showing some demonstrations between Security Center and OMS. And as a follow-up of that conversation, the good thing about that right now is that we have one single agent. If you are using OMS Security, the agent that you have on OMS Security is the same agent for Security Center. So now we combine the agents. We migrate a lot of capabilities that were in OMS Security now to Security Center. So Security Center is becoming really the main portal to visualize your security events, again, in Azure and on-premise.
Awesome.
All right, so this is the main Security Center portal. So what I was talking to you, Lex, about the snapshot is that this main screen, where you have overview, you have the data prevention and overview about security recommendations. So that part right here, where you see prevention, is part of the free tier. So even if you do not have a Security Center standard tier that you pay for per VM, you can still take advantage of the free tier security recommendation. And this is pretty cool because many customers, they say, well, I just want to see some security recommendations, some secure best practice for my Azure VMs. How can I do that? Well, you can just use Security Center and you have that part for free. So that's part of the package. And on the security stuff that you can see, you can click on the overview for monitoring recommendations, and you're going to see a lot of security recommendations such as the missing disk encryption, missing system updates. One part that I really like here is the OS version not up to date. It also tells you exactly what you are missing. And again, this is something interesting for PaaS-related service because Security Center is not only for IaaS, infrastructure as a service, but if you also have web roles, which are part of the PaaS in Azure, we can also give you some security recommendations on that. So keep in mind that it's not only for infrastructure as a service, it's also for PaaS. Not only for web application, but also Azure SQL.
Hey, Yuri, can I get you to do me a favor? Can you highlight like one of the things under recommendations?
Sure. This one, remediate security configuration mismatch, is probably the one that I like most because what happened is about secure best practice. Not only vulnerabilities can be exploited by bugs or machines that were not patched, but also by configuration. If you do not harden your system, if you do not have the secure best practice implemented, you can be vulnerable to some type of attacks, right? For example, disable support for RDS. This is one security recommendations that we give, and we tell the potential impact of that and the recommendation here. The good thing about that also is that we do this for Windows and for Linux. So we use the industry standard to identify those vulnerabilities. I should say secure mismatch configuration, because it's not necessarily a vulnerability, right? It's more like something that you can improve on your configuration to harden the system. So we give you the CCID here. You can search for that. As a matter of fact, we have a spreadsheet at TechNet Gallery that you can download to see all the CCIDs that we cover for Windows and for Linux. And we continue to go on here. I mean, all the recommendations have the potential impact and the full description. And we are fully integrated with log analytics. So you see that search on the top here. If I click on that search on the top, it will open log analytics, because all that information is stored on your workspace, and log analytics can query on that workspace. So when I click search, it is going to give me the entire snapshot of all machines that are missing that configuration.
That's really cool.
Yeah, so you can see here that it basically create a query, okay, and show me exactly which computers are missing that secure configuration. As you can see here, all these two first computers are Linux computer. When I click on this, it tells me exactly what I'm missing, okay, and it gives me what to do, right?
Yeah.
So the cool thing about it is not only that we warn you about something that can enhance from the security perspective, but we also give the suggestion on how to mitigate that.
Yeah, you know what's really cool to me is that we do include machines other than just Windows-based boxes, right? I mean, it's easy for us to figure out what security updates are missing from a Windows box. It's probably a little more difficult for us to do that with Linux.
Right.
And that's pretty cool. We must have some site that we rely on that we go and pull down the updates, or get a list of security vulnerabilities and
Yeah,
then figure out
it's
what
also
patches are
it's also
available.
important to mention here that is not every single flavor of Linux. We do have a website that describes which supported versions of Linux you can use for this capability.
Ah, well, that makes
Because,
it easier, I guess.
right, because there
Yeah.
are so many that we need to actually be very precise on which ones are supported.
Yeah, man, this is really cool.
Yeah, I really like that. I really like to have this one-shot overview of my secure posture because it's about enhance my protection. And this whole thing here is part of the free tier that leaves allows me to visualize all those things.
That's really neat, man. I like this.
So going back here, I have the same thing not only for compute, but I also have for networking, for storage and applications, right? So if I have IIS installed in one of my VMs, I'm going to have recommendation here for my IIS machine, what is missing and all stuff.
Wow, that's cool. Go into networking for a second.
Networking, this is pure Azure, right? This is Azure Network.
Yeah.
And the good thing about here is that Security Center is able, since it's integrated with Azure, I'm able to say, hey, you are missing a next generation file installed on this network, on these networks, right? So it tells me exactly what it is. It tells me that I have a bunch of machines that are wide exposed to the internet. And that's another thing that is important because as you start provision new VMs, and RDP to those VMs, you really do not realize that you are exposed. So Security Center can go ahead and give a warning, and you can create rules directly from here, the inbound rules.
Yeah, that's cool. I like this.
All right. And this is the entire part. I mean, I'm not sure if you remember, but in our last conversation, we were talking about secure posture. I actually was reviewing this video before. And this is part of the secure posture, it's the prevention, right? The second part is really the detection because you don't know what you don't know, right? So how you know if someone is trying to attack those VMs? How do you know if someone is actually already compromised one of your machines? So that's where it comes the secure alerts. Now this is part of the standard tier, so it's not part of the free version. So detections is about understanding who is trying to gain access of your resources. It can be from outside or even from inside. If someone that's already have access to your VMs and is trying to move laterally, is trying to elevate privilege, things like that. And gives me this snapshot with all the secure alerts organized by severity. So here is a good chance for you to address the high severity first, the medium, and then the low severity.
That's cool. Are those expandable? Can we dig into one of those security incidents?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, there is a difference between an alert and a secure incident. So here what happens, Security Center is able to do event correlation. And when we correlate events, we are able to see if those attacks are part of the same campaign. And this is pretty cool because it helps you to understand the movements that were done. Because sometimes the attacker starts by compromising one machine, and then he moves laterally to another machine and starts to escalate privilege, and then keep doing his attack campaign. So if we detect that everything is connected as part of the same attack campaign, we create a security incident. And the security incident pretty much shows the aggregation of the alerts, right? So it tells me that these three alerts are part of the same campaign. So everything in this case starts with RDP brute force, and then it moves to suspicious execution of SVC host, and then domain query. And you can still dig in. So if you click, for example, in suspicious SVC host, it shows me the details about this alert. In this case, it tells me that SVC host was executed from the suspicious location. Okay. It tells me also the domain name, the target machine, and it gives me some remediation steps. What should I do from now on? So here it gives me some suggestions about it. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is really cool. And for those of you that don't know, Service Host is just essentially a stub that we can present to developers so that they can write services that plug into the Service Host stub without having to write an entire service. They can write like a little mini sub-service that plugs into Service Host. So Service Host is actually used quite frequently as an attack vector.
Yeah, it can be abused. And we do not stop here. So let me go back to the RDP brute force attack here, for example. And we last year at Ignite we introduced this capability called investigation. I think you're gonna like that because let's say, well, here I have a really good amount of information about who started this attack, which tool was used, in this case FreeRDP. And I have a really pretty cool report here. If I click, it will be open a PDF file with all the details about the attack, this type of attack. But the investigation is something very interesting because it creates this new dashboard. And from this dashboard, I can dig in even more into this investigation. So Lex, what do you think about this cool map here?
Man,
pretty cool, isn't it?
So far, I'm impressed. I think all of this is pretty awesome. I love the map.
Yeah. So the investigation map, what it does is it creates this correlation between alerts. So as I'm investigating here, I have my security incident here, and now I'm gonna click on the RDP brute force attack. Now look at what's gonna happen with the map. It's gonna pivot all the information.
Oh wow, that's really cool.
So basically what we're doing here is, okay, based on this attack, what other things are correlated to this attack, right? And then we can see, for example, that this machine, Contoso Web F1, the attack came from it. And there are many other users connected to this machine that were connected at some point in time, right? Mm-hmm. So if I click on this guy, and I start pivoting this information, now I have even more information. So just by looking to this graph, I see something suspicious here. And if you follow my line of thought, you will see that Abby Becker, previously to sign in to this machine, it's signing in from an unfamiliar location. So it raised me some concerns about what this user is doing that is connecting to different different servers, and from this machine is trying to RDP to another machine, brute force. So I have some line of thought and directions to follow through, just by looking to the map, right?
Yeah.
I could go on and see what's happening here on this right pane. I have other capabilities such as entities. When I click on entities, it opens some interesting information, some events, okay? I also have this exploration that allows me to look in more details about what happened, suspicious activities. So here, for example, it says some accounts were added to the security enable group. So Abby Becker was added to the administrator group. So that's not cool.
Something.
No. yeah. So it's really interesting because I can continue to dig in. It filter from that, and it shows me the event. I mean, it really goes to the root cause. So from an incident response perspective, it gives me a lot of tool and material and evidence to go after.
Wow. That's so cool. It even tells you the service, it tells you the user, it tells you when they were added into the group. I mean, this is killer. This is almost forensics.
Yeah, it is. It's really the whole idea is to really follow the entire attack trail and understand how it happened and what it was done. So it's really interesting capability.
Yeah, I love this. Pause. Okay. How many more demos do we have, just so that I know where we are?
I would like to show one more, which is the playbook.
Okay. All right. That's fine. I don't care if it's 10 more. This is awesome. I'm just trying to figure out when to do certain things in the show. Okay.
All right, so back to the main dashboard. So we saw the security alerts and a lot of things done there, right? You can
Yeah.
do a lot of things there. Now, one question that we receive a lot is, okay, it's nice. So you cover two pillars of the secure posture, the prevention and the detection. What about the third one, which is the response, right? So now that we detected, we already have some remediation steps, as you saw on those screens on the security alerts. But you can automate some stuff using something that we call the playbooks. So the playbooks basically use logic apps behind the scenes, Azure Logic apps. If you are new to Security Center, this entire dashboard will be totally clean. You have to create your own playbook. And usually what a playbook is pretty much a set of procedures that you want to execute. Let's say once you receive RDP brute force attack, you want to immediately create a new incident on ServiceNow, or you want to send a message to your Slack group, or you want to send an email, something, right? You want to trigger something based on that alert. So I have one here that I created that is posted in Slack. So let me show you this one. And I'm gonna just edit this one and so you can see the flow. So this is basically Logic Apps. Okay, I'm not sure if you know Logic Apps, Lex, but basically it is a set of instructions. So here the first instruction is when our response in the Azure Security Center is triggered, what should I do? So here's the condition. The condition is if the alert severity equals to high, I want you to go ahead and post a message on my Slack channel and send an email to the administrator. If it is not, just send for your information email. That's and cool. you can keep expanding. You can keep adding different conditions, different actions, and things like that. So this is pretty cool. You can customize all that.
Are there any controls for doing things like pausing a suspicious service or?
If you look at action here, if I click action, it's going to open up a lot of things here. So you can do all this stuff here. You can add a user to a group. You can create a new user. And you can customize also via Azure function. So if something is not here, like you said, pause a service or something, you can create, you can code using Azure function, and you can create your own action.
Yeah.
So you have pretty much a library of actions that you can do natively from Logic Apps. If what you want to do is not here, you can customize via code.
Well, what I'm getting at is I think it would be really neat to be able to say, okay, if I get a high security alert, maybe suspend that user's account.
Yes.
And then figure out the service that the attack was perpetrated from and pause that service or stop that service. So that, you know, we've detected something probably a lot faster than a human being is going to detect it, right? Because, you know, sometimes these attackers can be in for years without being detected. Yeah. Sounds like this will pretty much detect it immediately. And if it can detect it immediately, we ought to be able to figure out a way to stop it immediately, and at least get those notifications out there so that we can protect your assets.
We are we're gonna be at Ready, Microsoft Ready next week in Seattle, and one of the demos that we are preparing is gonna be pretty cool, which is via Logic Apps. We have a function to create a firewall rule on Palo Alto. So let's say that I receive RDP brute force attack. I will get the source IP from that list and create a firewall rule to block that IP.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah,
that's pretty cool. Because it's not only cool because we are able to automate that, but because we are actually able to automate that in a third-party device, right? We are able to send that to Palo Alto and create a new rule there.
Yeah. Oh, man, that's so cool. Especially since, like you said, that's a third-party device that we're creating the rule on. Yeah.
Yeah. No, this is very powerful. I mean, you can play a lot, and as I said, if what you need is not on the list, you can basically use Azure Function, which is what we've done for Palo Alto, to create the rule.
Yeah, this is really cool, man. I'm going to have you back a lot sooner.
Yeah, not 2 years, because 2 years we accumulate a lot of features.
Yeah, well, no, what would be really cool, I think, is to maybe, we've done a great overview of this functionality. It would be cool to set up an Azure environment and then actually go through setting up the Azure Security Center.
Right. And the onboarding process, I can tell you right away, is very easy, because if it is only Azure VM, as soon as you opt in to use Security Center, the agent will be installed automatically.
Yeah.
So there's nothing really to do. Now, if you want to do for on-premise, then you just need to install the agent, point to your workspace located in Azure, and that's pretty much it. It's pretty straightforward. And that's the good thing, is that the onboarding process is easy, very easy to do, and very light.
Yeah, this is so cool, man. What a great... I had no idea this existed, and I'm just blown away by it.
Yeah, we need to have more people aware of that, because I remember last year at Ignite, I delivered a presentation, and I also was working at the booth, and I received so many people that went there and said, "Hey, what is this Azure Security Center? Can you tell me about it?" I said, "Oh, sure." And it's the amount of people that still not know that they exist is kind of alarming. We should really vocalize more about this.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, got anything else to show us?
Yeah, I think that the other pretty cool capability that we also released recently is the just-in-time VM access. And this feature is awesome, because what happened is, how many times in a large environment you open up RDP access to your Azure VM and you just forget about it, right? With this feature here, we can say, okay, you want access to this VM? Okay, let me request access to this VM, and I'm going to allow you to work on this VM for only a certain period of time. I can tell you for 2 hours range, and I can harden it for IP range. Okay, and the amount of hours that you're gonna work. After that, I'm gonna close the ports, and nobody can access it.
Yeah, we'll time out the session.
Yeah, it's cool, because it allows you to really use many of the security principles, just-in-time access, things that is supposed to be part of your security policy. Now you can implement on your Azure resources as well.
That's so cool. Yeah, I'm blown away. This is awesome.
Yeah, and the last but not least, the adaptive application control. What happened is how hard it is many times to do whitelisting on machines, right? We use AppLocker for that. This is basically an intelligent version of AppLocker, because we use machine learn to understand the pattern of your applications that are running on those machines, and we say, hey, some of these applications you ought to add to your whitelist, and everything else block. So you can clearly create a whitelist based on the intelligence that we have and use on your VMs. So that's pretty cool too.
That's very cool. Yeah, this is neat. All right, so hey, if I'm a customer, or maybe I work for Microsoft and I've got a customer, and I want to share this information with them, is there a great web resource that we can go to, or that we can reference?
Yes, I mean, our team, we have the main documentation site, which is this one here, the docs.microsoft.com/Azure/Security Center. It has everything here. Our team, the CXP team, recently put together the readiness roadmap, and the intent of the readiness roadmap was really to help partners and customers to onboard in Azure Security Center. We go all the way from understanding, then we have articles and videos as well. We go to the planning operations, and then we start breaking down into mitigation, security issues. Again, we keep referencing core articles and videos. Okay,
wow. So
awesome. This is one-stop shop for your learning ramp up in Security Center. So if you go to this page, you pretty much have access to everything you need to do to learn Security Center.
Wow, that's so cool. So listen, man, thank you so much for coming and doing this for us today.
Oh, thank you. Thanks a lot for having me. It took a long time, but I promise I'll be back sooner.
Yeah, we definitely need you to do that. All right, guys. I think that's it for today. So without further ado, enjoy your day, and that's your Taste of Premier.